Hi, hello everyone, welcome back to a new video. In the past few weeks, there's been a lot of controversy surrounding Katseye and the documentary they released on Netflix for many reasons, but specifically regarding the alleged mistreatment of Manon, another member of the group. Today I will be sharing my opinion because some of the things that have been said seem completely wrong to me. So without further ado, let's get started. To start, I want to say that even though this documentary is being released now, it was made at least 2 years ago, so whatever happened, they've surely talked it over and everything is fine between them, or at least I hope so. The documentary showed how they trained and the relationships between them. It also showed how they were told it would be a competition and that they would be competing against each other, which is quite a shock because they go from being your friends to your rivals. And no matter how much you want the best for them, you want things to go better for you, and sometimes that makes you see them as enemies instead of just rivals. Like most shows, there was a ranking system where those at the top would debut, and those at the bottom would be eliminated. The problem is that the first elimination was completely blind from the audience's perspective. They show you 20 girls with their nationalities, and somehow you have to choose who is more talented. Obviously, this was part of Hybe's plan. They needed to get rid of 2 girls, and instead of having an elimination based on talent, they left it up to the audience, who knew nothing about them, which ultimately led to decisions being made based on looks, and that's not what I feel the show was supposed to represent. If you want to create a supposedly fair show, eliminations should be based on talent and nothing else. Since the audience was deciding, I-DLE, one of the most talented trainees, ended up last, but before that, she made some statements saying that Slavic girls had no representation, which also caused her to receive a lot of hate.
Now, the Americans experience what, a Slovak would experience all the time. We don't ever get represented, ever.
The main issue comes with Manon, who didn't audition for the show but was scouted instead. Apparently, she didn't even live with the other girls because she didn't follow the rules, and if she didn't feel like it, she wouldn't show up to practice. This made the other girls feel frustrated with her, and with a little plus because Manon was, and still is, very popular. Some of the girls felt this wasn't fair, especially I-DLE, who spoke about this.
And even the people that are Manon, she's getting so much attention. You know, people are upset because she doesn't put a lot of effort and she doesn't show up for her teams a lot. And so people are upset that she is the person who's getting so much attention. It's not based on anything right now. It's just because she's pretty, and that's true. She is pretty.
Manon clearly knows about it because she's literally spoken to me saying that she's upset that we're saying things and all that, but why are you upset that we're frustrated at you, when it's you're doing, and we told you that we're upset? And this just has been going on since the month that she came here.
There's people that are so clearly passionate about this, but then there's some people like Manon, she doesn't show up to rehearsals. Even when I was there, she wasn't showing up. No, she never does. And it's she breaks the rules and she doesn't get penalized for it. Now it's being completely ignored, and it's it's surprising because we naively thought something else.
And looking at both sides of the story, it's not fair, and I understand why they were angry. I even feel like they held back and didn't say everything they wanted to say. Because this isn't a show where if you fail, you just move on to something else and it's no big deal. Some of the girls, especially I-DLE, left school for this. It's not something to be taken lightly. And if you're promised that you have opportunities because it's a fair show, and then you realize there's nothing you can do because talent isn't what makes you debut or not in the group, I would be angry too. On the other hand, Manon isn't to blame for people choosing her, because that's how the industry works. I feel like they took it out on her because she perfectly represents how your merits don't mean anything if you don't have a pretty face, and how the pretty privilege is very real. I think all the feelings are valid. The other girls have the right to feel upset if someone isn't doing what they're supposed to and still wins. But on the other hand, Manon chose to focus more on herself, which is a completely respectable option, and it worked out for her. The anger is understandable. But Manon shouldn't be judged for something that isn't related to her, only for her actions. Not showing up to class, yes. Being favored for being pretty, no. I've seen that some people attribute these clashes to cultural differences because the girls are from many different places. For example, Manon being from Switzerland, where they respect rest time a lot, which is completely opposite to the Korean system they were following for their training. So there could have been a clash there as well. I think she should have adapted. And if there are people who have just come out of surgery and are there practicing as best as they can and giving their all, the least you can do is show up, but that's something that develops over time. And maybe it's my own culture that makes it hard for me to understand how everyone is giving their best and you're not, because you know people will still like you even if you don't do anything. I don't want to be too harsh on Manon because she may have changed over this time, but in this case, I believe she wasn't correct. I also wanted to talk about her fans who are defending her at all costs without taking the time to listen to the other side, belittling Lara, I-DLE, and the other girls. But well, it's nothing we haven't seen or aren't used to in K-pop. Her fans say that she skipped classes because of stress, but I'm sorry. Everyone was stressed and still showing up. There are other girls like Hinari, who was 14 years old, coming from a remote town in Japan and couldn't speak English, faced a lot of stress, and still did what she was told, had no prior dance training and arrived a while afterwards, and when she and the others were practicing, Manon went home to her relative's house with a pool.
No, I don't think I'll be going to practice today.
Okay. Ready? 6, slowly, go. And a boom, ha, and a...
This morning, Manon did not show up for rehearsal. So without her being here, it just leaves everybody in a what are we to do situation.
Do you want me to re-choreograph the ending or leave a gap?
Leave holes. I think that that's the best thing to do because also, like, eventually she'll come back in. When we first met Manon, there was obvious star quality there. Sometimes people of star quality have this arrogance or whatever it is about them. But with K-pop, there's also this required humbleness and kindness and caring about others and your teammates. I have not seen that from Manon.
This keeps happening over and over again with Manon. And there's people that just came and never danced before just like her, but they are here every single rehearsal, putting in extra work.
In my opinion, it was wrong, but there's nothing that can be done now. I don't understand why it's being brought up at this moment. All the hate that's falling is actually HYBE's fault, whether it's because they apply the philosophy that any publicity is good publicity or because they don't know how to make documentaries. Each documentary they release is worse than the last. Trying to gain sympathy to benefit your artists seems smart, but making a documentary that lies about the participants and portrays some as villains and others as heroes when they've debuted in the group seems extremely stupid to me. Can you at least leave out the statements from the girls who have debuted? You're just shooting yourself in the foot. The controversy will still be there if that's what you're aiming for, but this will only help them in the short term. This fame will soon stabilize, but people and fans won't forget how they were talked about.
And this has been all. I hope you like it. Make sure to like and subscribe if you did. It would help me a lot. See ya.